She has spoke all over. She has taught classes. She did my radio show and I learned so much about her. She speaks at many churches. Is it Quincy that you're the pastor of? I can't, you're muted.
Pastor Emeritus, I've retired.
Yes, yes, you are retired, but I noticed
Still
your name
working there, but retired.
Yeah, you're still working a lot there. Rita's been doing this a really, really long time. She should be on our wall here in the Assembly Hall because she truly is one of the front runners of spiritualism. You've been doing this many, many, many years. I admire you. I admire your work. I love your beautiful portraits that you put on Facebook, and you put them out like once a week. You got another one coming, and you just got another award. And I've watched your work as a spirit artist, and there's very few of you in the world, for sure. And I'm so grateful and honored that you are here to talk with us today. So thank you, Rita. Rita Berkowitz.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. In God we trust. We know that. It says that on the back of our dollar bills, right? We look at those all the time. In God we trust. Do you? Do you? When things are going beautifully, when the snow melts and the sky is blue and the flowers are coming up in March or April, depending upon where you live, you say, yeah, everything's in divine order. Everything is just absolutely perfect. But is it perfect when it's not going quite as well? This morning, a very dear friend of mine posted on Facebook, my life will never be the same, because he's one of the people that was evacuated. Thank God he's alive. Thank God he's holding his cup of coffee in his hand. But do we trust when things aren't quite going our way? Can we trust when we lose somebody that they're still here with us? If we lose them because they passed, or if they lose them just because life took them in another direction, can we trust? There are two young men that I worked with in the 1980s when I first became a spiritualist. And these two young men were troubled boys in a school for boys that had gotten into trouble. And they stayed in touch with me all of these years. And I noticed in the last couple of months, I haven't heard from them, which was unusual. And at first I was a little saddened. And then I said, Spirit, what's going on? And they said to me, Rita, you guided them to what they need to do. They are both now sober. They are both now employed. That's what needed to happen. So can I accept the fact that they're not in my life or may not be in my life? When a loved one passes, we always feel them, or I always feel them. I feel their love, I feel their contentment, I feel their joy, I feel their freedom. Some of you may have heard when I spoke of my daughter who passed, and when I ascended up to have a conversation with her, the first thing she said is, Ma, I'm free. What an amazing experience that she wasn't tied down to the body that was so ill, but that she was able to open her mind and open her communication and speak to me as if she was sitting in the room with me. In God we trust. We see what's going on in the fires out in California. Pretty horrifying. It's sad. We know people that are there. We love people that are there. The numbers of phone calls and texts that we have gone through in this past week have been huge in the matter of just checking in to make sure you're okay. Just checking in. How do we deal with it when things aren't going our way, or we think aren't going our way? And I will put that in a large quotation marks. We think aren't going our way. So I'm going to share a story with you about when I was working with these boys, not the two that I mentioned before, but I was working in this school. It was a late November day. It was sleeting outside. It was probably 33 degrees. I had to leave Boston and go to halfway across the state to Worcester to teach an evening class. When I got to my office, my jacket was not there. I had a jacket that was a leather puffy jacket. You remember those from the 1980s, the big puffy jackets. They're back in style now, so if you have one, good. And so the jacket wasn't there. I was a bit annoyed. The parking lot to the Worcester Art Museum where I was going to teach was a half a block away from the door. I had to carry art supplies in just my indoor clothes, walk through the sleet, get to teach my class, taught it, picked up my supplies, started to go back to my car, again in the sleet. And as I'm driving home, what here is called the Mass Pike, the Massachusetts Turnpike, I say to my guides, I refer to my guides as, hey guys, because I'm on a familiar basis. And I said, how am I going to deal with these boys tomorrow? How am I going to go into school and deal with them? Because I was pretty PO'd. And I hear from Spirit, send them healing. And my response to Spirit was, yeah, right. And I hear again, send healing. And so I sent healing. And the next day when I walked into school, the headmaster of the school hands me my jacket. We got it back. It was me that did it. And the police said, we got the jacket back. It was us that did it. And some of the boys came up to me and said, we got your jacket back. It was us that did it. I had no question who did it. I had no question that Spirit was there saying, Rita, this is how it works. You send the love, you send the healing, it heals. And that trust that it's healing, that trust that when we work with Spirit, that trust that God is with us, no matter what we're going through, no matter what. If we go step by step by step by step by step of each thing that has happened to us in our life, and then we are willing to step back and put that positive energy into it, put that love and healing into it and say, yes, this is what it is. This is the trust that I have for God. I learned this when I was very young. I was 6 years old. It was during the polio epidemic. And I was a crippled child. Worked out that I did not have polio, which was a good thing. But I was afflicted with juvenile rheumatic arthritis. And didn't walk for a couple of months. And one day, and I know it must have been 5:30 in the morning, because the sun was just coming up and it was summertime. And I said, God, I really have to go to the bathroom. And my mother is so tired. Help me just to get there. And I got up and walked. And that day, when the doctor came to the house, because doctors used to come to your house, when the doctor came to my house, I answered the door. And he screamed, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Now in spiritualism, we believe in divine natural law. Natural law is absolutely magnificent. I've given many lectures on natural law. Natural law is really the energy you put out, you get back. So as that dear child, 6 years old, said to God, God, help me. Help me to walk so my mother doesn't have to wake up now because she's tired. She did wake up when she heard me walking. She ran down the hall and she fell to her knees and started to cry. And I said, I still have to get to the bathroom, Ma. And I got to the bathroom. And as my husband loves to say, and nothing has held me still since. The joy of knowing that all things are in divine order. Watch it in your life. See it happening. See it happening. When I decided to come back to being an artist, because I had moved to a place, and if you've seen any of my work online, you see the sun rises over the marsh, because that's outside of my house now. And when I got there, I said, how can I not paint this? And the one day a week that I took off for myself, which was Wednesdays, there was a beautiful class that was listed. I had no idea what it meant because I didn't speak French, called Pastel Altier. And I said, I don't know what it is, but it's on my day off, I'm taking it. And it was a 5-hour, not a 5-hour service, thank goodness, a 5-hour class. And in that 5-hour class at lunchtime, we would break. As I looked around the class, I knew nobody. And I looked around and I would come to realize that in the class was 12 spiritual women. Very spiritual, coming from different backgrounds. Some, when they heard what I did, were a little afraid of me. But that's okay. And it ended up being one of the most incredible groups of people. The woman who was most afraid of me, the woman who was most like, I'm not going near her, she talks to dead people. When I talk to dead people, I draw their picture. And so I decided to invite the group of women to my office for a private sitting of a spirit art demonstration. When I did it, the woman who was most afraid ended up having a drawing of her father, her grandfather, and the father, her uncle, and her grandmother. So 3 of the drawings out of 8 that I did that night went to her. She didn't doubt anymore after that. She did think I was a little strange still, but she didn't doubt anymore. We're still very, very, very close friends now. And I'm happy to say she's not afraid of me anymore. But when we think about spirit being with us, when we think about this love that we get, this compassion that we get, this nurturing that we get, the answers that we get, stop and listen, because they do talk to us. Stop and listen. They have so much to say. And when we stop to listen, and when we listen continuously, I'll share another story with you. I had a wonderful teacher, my first circle that I sat in. And she lives up in Maine now. Her name is Charlotte Green. And we sat in circle. And it was during the AIDS epidemic, and where my studio was, we used to call it the gay ghetto because there was a lot of people dying from AIDS. A lot of people dying from AIDS. And one of my friends came through. And when he came through, I started to laugh. And the teacher said to me, why are you laughing? I said, I feel like I'm being tickled on the inside. He's just making me happy and laugh. And then she described who she was seeing. And it was my friend Paul, and I started to cry. And he put his hand on his hip and said, see, I can make her do that too. And I became very good friends with the particular teacher, Charlotte Green. And so came time for her birthday. And I said, what am I going to get her for her birthday? What does she want? Now, when you shop with Spirit, it's a wonderful thing because they will tell you where to go and what to get. Now, this is the 1980s. So if any of you are old enough to remember way back then, women primarily had purses of black, brown, beige, or white. And I walk into, because they told me to go to TJ Maxx. And I'm very good because my shopping guides are very talented. And so I went into TJ Maxx, and there at the end of the clearance rack was a purple leather bag for $15. In my budget, I bought it. I wrapped it, I gave it to her. When she opened it, she cried and said, I've always wanted a purple leather bag, but I would never spend the money on one. Because if it was there, it would be unusual and it would have been expensive. But nobody was buying them. So it was marked down to $15, which I could afford. And therefore, she got the gift she always wanted. I do make it a practice when I'm buying gifts for friends is to ask for what they want. My grandchildren, I ask them what they want. They're happy that way. But for my friends, I said, what would this person really like? This past Christmas, I did it. I said, what should I get this particular friend, my studio mate? I love her dearly. We've worked together in this space for 6 years. We get along beautifully. She doesn't mind that I sing and dance while I paint. And so I get into Home Goods. You can tell where I like to shop. I get into Home Goods and I say, okay, you brought me here. What does she want? And they walk me around the store, and I'm at this end of the store and I'm at that end of the store. And it's a relatively big shop, and I'm walking around and walking around and I'm walking around. And then finally I see a throw for the couch. And I hear that's what she wants. I said, is this the one she wants? I hear no. I said, could you show me the one she wants? And brought over, and there it was. And when she opened it, she said, Rita, this matches my, which I've never been in her living room. This matches my living room perfectly. I can't thank you enough. When we listen to what Spirit has to say, when we listen to what Spirit wants us to do, we will get the answers. We will get the answers in a way that's profound. We will get, and not just buy gifts for people, because that's minimal. How to treat somebody, how to love somebody. When I was working with the guys that had AIDS, I would hear when they were in trouble. I would hear from Spirit that they needed something. I had a friend, Bill, he's in Spirit now. And Bill would never call me when he needed something because he didn't want to bother me. That's what he said. And one day I hear, Bill needs you. So I call his home. There's no answer. I said, okay, where is he? I hear Beth Israel Hospital. I said, okay. I call Beth Israel Hospital's emergency room. Is Bill there? I gave his full name. And they said, yes, he's right here. Would you like to speak to him? And I said, yeah, I would. I said, what's up, Bill? What's going on? He said, I came in here, but they're letting me go. I just need a ride home. I said, don't you think it would have been easier if you called me? And he laughed and he said, would you come get me? I said, of course I will. There was one time when he needed medicine and he wasn't well enough to go out to get it. So I'm painting in my studio and I hear, Bill needs you. I call Bill. he said, could you just pick up some Imodium for me? Because the digestive system went. And so I picked up the Imodium, and he left the door unlocked for me. And he was curled up in his bed in pain. I laid down next to him and I put my arm around him. And I held him for 25 minutes as he wept. And he said nobody had touched him in months. The healing that we give, in so many ways that we give, it is profound. The healing that we do, even to ourselves sometimes because we need it. But the healing that we give to these people, some we know, some we don't. When we're sending the healing to California, when we're sending the healing to Gaza, when we're sending the healing to any part of the world where there is need, it's received, it's heard, it's profound. Trust in it. Trust in it. When I'm painting, they tell me what to do. I go outside every morning, weather permitting, and photograph the sunrise over the marsh. I've been working on a series for the last 2 3/4 years of sunrises. Because when my daughter was sick, we agreed that at her service, we would read the poem, Paint Me a Sunrise. It's absolutely incredible, the gifts that I've received as I go out and look at those sunrises. Some mornings in Massachusetts, as it is up in Lilydale, it's very cold. The last couple of weeks have been very cold. My neighbors laugh at me as I have my boots on and my robe and slippers and my big down coat over it and my hood up with my little phone camera, and I'm photographing the sunrise. But the sunrise is a new beginning. Morning has broken, the song you all sang to me, one of my favorite songs, the title of one of my paintings. All things are in divine order. That was a gift to me. Now I know y'all didn't know that I paint sunrises every day, that I go out and photograph the sunrise in the morning, that I share it with people. But singing that song, Morning Has Broken, is such a profound song because it's Spirit's way of saying we have a new beginning. We have time to do what is needed to be done to make our life the life we need it to be. Not always what we want it to be, but what we need it to be. I love to tell my students this story that when many, many years ago, when I was a young woman, I said to God, what I want is a man in my life who absolutely adores me and is a fabulous lover. Well, I got him. He was a jaybird. So be careful what you ask for. Make sure that when you're asking Spirit for something, you're asking for the highest good. You're asking for the highest and the best of all. My sister sometimes says to me, who really doesn't understand what I do, I thought you were praying for me. I'm not better. I said, I am praying for you, and it's God's will, it's not mine. So it's a thing to remember. But when we connect with Spirit, when we're feeling Spirit deep in our heart, when we're feeling that experience of the love that comes in from the higher side as they work with us, as they give to us, trust it. It's profound, trust it. It's beautiful. It's there. It's alive. They love us so much. We're their homework assignment. Those people who go to spirit, they don't just hang around and do nothing. They don't get wings and a halo and white dress and a harp and isn't everything lovely? They have work to do. We're their work. And so they help us. They bring us to that divine place that we can say, ah, Spirit is with me. God bless you all.
Thank you, Rita. That was beautiful. Forgot to make mention you're in Scituate, Maine, which is
Scituate, Mass.
Massachusetts. I'm sorry, Scituate, Massachusetts. Yes, one of the most beautiful places for sure for pictures that you take. I find it quite curious because I watch your sunrise pictures, and I know you know that I like sunset pictures. And if you see me in Lilydale, a lot of times I'll be running down the street, no matter what the weather is, to catch those sunsets. We kind of make it full circle with your sunrises and my sunsets.
We should do a show together.
Thank you, Rita.